What's up, party people? Welcome to today's episode. We are talking about ACC Tournament. There's a lot that went down over the last couple days, but more importantly, we want to make sure that we have to touch on the number one ranked North Carolina starting at the beginning of the season to not being possibly in the NCAA Tournament. How did we get here?
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, it's all fun and games till it ain't, and that's certainly what people are saying around Chapel Hill as the team is potentially out of the NCAA tournament. We haven't had that final yes or no, but it's feeling like a no when it comes to whether or not they'll make the tournament in terms of their strength of schedule and all that fun net stuff. But it's how did we get here conversation for what should have been a run it back redemption season for the Tar Heels. Kenton Gibbs is here. Locked On ACC podcast is what we do. Subscribe to the channel from anywhere you listen to your podcast. We really appreciate it. We're so close to 1,000 subs on YouTube, and we can't do it without you. Kenton, North Carolina started out as the number one team in the country. They did a recreate of Dean Smith and the boys, and all the things were supposed to be like one box out is all it took for us to be the national champions. And here we are trying to run it back to make sure we relive that moment again. What are your thoughts on the most arguably underwhelming season for North Carolina to date?
You know, college basketball is defined by what you do in March and May. That's the reality. But if we take a closer look, if we take a closer examination at what this team actually was last year before the ACC tournament, they were a bubble team, right or wrong?
Right, absolutely.
They were a bubble team last year. They won, 3 games in the ACC tournament, lost in the final to Virginia Tech, and then they went on a run in the NCAA tournament, and then all of a sudden they became a great team in everybody's perception. Yeah. Even myself, again, I will gladly admit, I was fooled. I was hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, and led astray by their success in March because I also overvalued success in March, but it won't happen again. I learned from my mistakes. With that being said, this team came back as the same team. And everybody makes fun of me for always saying, homie, you was who you was when you got here. But
the proof is in the schedule, the results, the pudding. And, you know, listen, there's a couple things, right? Hubert Davis's post-game conference talking about how we can show that we can compete with the best of them. And while that's all well and good, my guy, you got to win against the best of them. That's the nature of this beast. It's wins and losses. As much as you want to say we have the good old tribe, we have the moral victories, and we've shown our growth. Don't nobody care about potential but a girl and a boy in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't work off that because my job, your job, things that how we get to where we are boil down to results. It's just results.
And I'm glad you said a boy or girl in a relationship because even when you become a man or woman, that potential don't mean not much.
Yeah. It could be a boy or a boy, a girl or a girl, whatever your function is. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure that's clear. Yeah.
We're not talking about orientation. I'm just saying
I got you.
Boy and girl indicates youth because it matters when you're young. When you get to a certain point, it has to be actualized into production. It has to be actualized into, I believe that you could be these things. You are showing me that you are these things. I am excited because you are what you said you were.
Right.
And at the end of the day, again, we got fooled. Everybody was fooled. We saw a team that lost in the national championship last year, bringing back 4 of their 5 starters, and they said, this team should be, they should be running through the ACC, running through the nation like a Tomb Raider. And the nation and the ACC said, not so fast, my friend.
But
we're going to show that now.
Yeah, but Kenton, let's talk about Armando Bacot's comments last night after the loss. Well, maybe we weren't that good. So were you all actually hoodwinked and bamboozled? Were you believing the hype of what people thought you to be? Because if that's the case, I'm a little discouraged because at the end of the day, it's all about the work you put in. Did you buy into, it was just going to come together in late February, early March, or we're just going to figure it out kind of like we did last year? How could you assume or not be hungry or hungrier than you were last season because you knew how close you could have gotten? To me, I feel like there was just no dog mentality, energy besides RJ Davis. Like last night showed me if anybody's coming back I want it to be RJ. Everybody else, Tony. Okay, that's fine.
In the words of Lil Durk, they'll still be alive right now if you people ain't gas them up. And this was a situation where folks start reading their press clippings. And they say, boys, the hay's in the barn. We've done it. What do we need to listen to Hubie for? We were all right last season not listening to him, and we figured it out and how to get to the Final Four. We figured out how to get to the Natty. Why do we
Right. But Hubert, I'm listening. I'm looking at you as well. Not only did Tony Bennett last night was talk about going into this game conversation, Virginia won 68-59. Tony Bennett put on a master class of how to beat a team that got you. You know what I mean? Like that was the ultimate get back. As many times North Carolina looked like they had an opportunity to get into the game, Tony Bennett said, not so fast. I mean, defensively, they just could not keep up with Virginia. Offensively, they could not keep up with Virginia. Got it close, but when they got the pressure and it started to get a little intense and they saw the writing on the wall, they went back to North Carolina of old and throwing up ridiculous shots that just no.
Well, you know, I mean, it is what it is. You know, that's a situation where, of course, you want to look at Huey. Of course, like I said,
you have to.
You can say that, you know, the situation with Roach saying, "Oh, I knew they weren't going to communicate because they didn't communicate properly all game." You could say that, well, that's on the players because you coach them up to do it. But at a certain point, if the players are not doing what you need them to do, why are you as a coach? What are you as a coach not tapping into to make them do that thing?
You're supposed to bring out the best of them, right? Is that what it's okay? These
are grown men, so obviously you can't force them to do anything, but your job is to get them to see the importance of doing the little things. That is your job. And he, you know, and Hubie did not do so. So
wait, Kenton, wait. I got another question for you because you're the expert here. When the kids don't do what you're coaching them up to do, you're not bringing out the best of them. When is it time to say, all right, sit your happy parts down? Like, when do you have those conversations if your starters aren't delivering? I've seen Roy take a whole starting lineup out and say, have a seat if you're not trying to do it the way I told you.
I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm not as loyal as a lot of these coaches are. I'm not. It's the reason I'm in media and not a coach because I'm going to tell you right now, right? I'm not the type of person that's going to scream and yell and cuss and fuss at you. I'm going to just tell you, the violence that I do is violence against your minutes. That's going to be the violence you get from me. The yelling you get from me is going to be the yelling against your minutes. I'm going to say, hey, now wait a minute. I'm pretty sure I told y'all that we were going to run drop coverage when they did pick and rolls and we were going to pre-rotate and you were going to get here. Okay. Y'all don't want to do that? Hey, come on, sit right here. Right here. We'll put the walk-ons out there and they may get work, but guess what? They're going to be in the right position. They're going to be in the right position. And then I come from coaches who were happy. I came from a coach who benched an All-American because he wore a visor in Thomas Wilcher. He benched an All-American because he wore a visor when coach said, don't do that. Yeah. So if you don't do with everything on the court, everything on the field, everything on the ice, whatever surface you play on is one of two things as a head coach. It is either what you coach the players to do or what you allow them to do. Yeah. Now, you can make sure that those two things don't happen by saying, hey, come here. It's okay. Hey, Caleb. When did you practice that shot? When did you practice that 30-footer off 1 foot fading? Don't worry, Caleb. We got another shooting guard. We got another shooting guard on scholarship. Hey, you go ahead in there, Caleb. Just sit on down next to me till we learn how to get our shot selection in.
Hell, Seth Trimble was looking good to me, but that's neither here nor there. It hasn't been since the 74-75 number one NC State team that we've had a number one ranked team be so.
But
we just want that back.
That NC State team was 22-6. They were
1,000%.
Did not make it.
1,000%. Just stating the stats, okay?
Oh, for sure. I'm just letting you know. This ain't that, and that ain't this.
The correlation is whatever you want it to be. Ultimately, though, North Carolina is not in the NCAA tournament all because of themselves. They have nobody to blame but the people in the mirror. And not for nothing, I think it goes back to my age-old. There's this I want to be an old lady, get off my lawn type energy. But until you start really honing the play for the name in the front and not the back, it is always going to be difficult at North Carolina, because we don't realize that people want nothing more than to tell their kids when they're old and gray how they took it to you because of who you are, what you represent. It's going to be a long day for you. Like, you got to have some pride about you. I'm about to have some pride about you. That's the kind of person I am. Like, everybody wants to beat Duke. Everybody wants to beat North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky. Like, that's just what you play the game for at this point in college basketball, to me, because you built that marquee for yourself. And I hope these guys take that into the next season. Please don't play in the NIT. I beg. I'm begging. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see no more of this group together. I'm good. I'm great, actually.
Well, I mean,
I'm great. I don't want to see no more.
I'll tell you this. I was talking about some of the other schools in the ACC and them talking about they didn't want to play if they weren't in the NCAA tournament. North Carolina is one of the schools that has a legitimate case for, like, I'm not playing in NIT. Like, they have a legitimate case for, hey, look at our ceiling. We're not playing in that. And they can work that out. Now, some of you other schools that was saying that, watch your mouth.
Caleb Love was the only one who kind of said I would want to play. And I'm like, I bet you do. I bet your little tail do. And you know what? There's that. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout at the same game parlay. Don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. So Kitten has an early exit today, but of course we couldn't get him out of here without talking about the quarterfinals that we saw last night. I'm gonna go ahead and get to it because I know you got to go. NC State Clemson. How embarrassing for the Pack.
The three biggest losses this season by NC State were all suffered at the hands of Clemson. At this point in time, I feel like it's a case of Coach Keats being who he is, right? Like, there should not be any surprises. There shouldn't be any. So
you're blaming on the coaching style. Brown out-coached Keats.
Yeah, you don't lose by this much, this many times consecutively. And I'm going to start with Coach Keats, but then I'm going to move it to the intestinal fortitude and toughness of the players. Like, the reality is, you're NC State. You know you're never going to get the whistle. You know you're never going to get the call. Ooh, yeah, you got a terrible third call on DJ Burns that sent him to the bench. Sure, fine. Terquavion Smith, you could not throw a rock in the ocean in this game. And everybody thought after last game, oh, he's back. He's good now. No, he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't. He still is struggling. He still is having a very tough time, having a very tough go at it. And defensively, I mean, yes, it is baffling to see that Clemson got this hot 3 times and see that there was some good defense and Clemson was just hitting tough shots. But also, there was a feeling of quit at certain points in time. There was a feeling where I remember one possession in particular where they got like 2 to 3 consecutive offensive rebounds, and one of their bigs of Clemson was throwing the ball back to himself off the rim at a point, like he was running a drill of some sort until he finally tipped it in. Players got to be tougher.
NC State did enough. They're still going to NCAA tournament?
Yeah, they're in. I think that they're safely in.
Clemson needs to keep winning.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's the crazy thing about it. Clemson has beaten NC State 3 times. I believe they've beaten Duke as well. But their losses are so bad. You cannot lose to this Louisville team.
Losing to North Carolina also.
I mean, losing to North Carolina is not that bad because they lost in the Dean Dome, right? Not that bad. Not that bad.
Okay.
Losing to Louisville anywhere. I don't care if you're in L. Ellis's literal backyard playing that basketball game. You shouldn't lose.
NC State losing. NC State, if NC State had won, that would have helped elevate North Carolina, no?
I mean,
I'm asking.
North Carolina won a game against them at home, lost on the road. A split with them, like, I don't think that helps all that much. But
Sure. All right, well, look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. When it comes to these games, you got to keep moving forward. Clemson and Virginia will face off against each other. Who you got as that W before I get you out of here?
Oh, I think that Virginia takes that game. Again, when you talk about intestinal fortitude and coaching adjustments, which NC State lacks, you're looking at the specialty of Virginia, right? Yeah. Like you're looking at a team that is as tough as nails, that defensively is going to hound you, harass you. They're going to play slow, plodding, methodical ball. They don't need to get out a ton in the break. That's not their game. Isn't heavily dependent on the break because they're like, oh, y'all want to play a nice, nasty, slow-paced game? That's what we love. That's what. Come on, get in this playpen with us.
Aren't you so lucky that you get out of here before the cable conversation? I know you're dying.
Oh no! I got to get in on this one. Let me tell you something now. Let me tell you something. Let me learn you something.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, and I want you to think about how crazy this is. Had Duke won, had Pitt won at Miami, that last game of the season, they would have got to bye. They wouldn't have had to play Duke in this game. And yet, that difference caused them to get the wheels whooped off them.
Beat the brakes off of them. But does Duke look really good right now?
They do. They do look really
crazy time.
They look really good. It's like they've figured it out. It's like they've seen the light or something. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is or how it is, but they're doing what they need to do. I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. Proctor's getting better by the game. Roach is who he is.
Doing just enough.
Filipowski getting better by the game and doing good things. Lively has come alive. And you did not see this Lively in for most of the season. So, I'm looking up and I'm just saying to myself, Pitt, you got waxed, but also Duke just looks really good. I don't want to say Pitt looks really bad. Duke looks really good.
Do you think they beat Miami today?
That's tough.
That's your time.
I give the nod to Miami, but that is my time. I have to get on out of here. Peace and love to the viewers of Locked On ACC.
Kenton Gibbs, ladies and gentlemen, of course, he's always here every single day. We'll talk to him on Monday as we review the rest of these shows. Let's get into some of these quarterfinal matchups. Wake Forest was taken down by Miami 74-72. It's a shame, though, because when you think about what Wake Forest could have been and probably should have been this season, the fact that Damari Monsanto was not there certainly reared its ugly head for the Demon Deacons, right? At a time when you needed some sharp shooters, it certainly would have been best to have Monsanto in the conversation. 74-72 loss. Miami doing just enough, survive and advance mentality when it comes to these tournaments, and they have a big foe in front of them. As we mentioned, Duke and Miami face off today at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. You don't want to miss that one. As we said to you, Duke is looking great. Miami has been great all season. This is two teams that have gone back and forth in terms of victories. They split it throughout the regular season. Miami is the co-champion. Duke came up third. They wanted to be in the conversation. Arguably, some people think they should be in the conversation. We'd love to know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments for us. I think the Hurricanes are able to pull this one away, but it's going to be a nail-biter for sure. Having the tournament in Greensboro will certainly be on the Blue Devils side, all that advantage stuff, but a good semifinal on the way, again, at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. Talk about Clemson and Virginia, a Clemson team that, was leading the ACC throughout the season. Virginia, a team that you can never count out because of who their coach is and the talent that they have. Who is going to go off tonight? Is it going to be Franklin? Last night it was Reese Beekman. Is it going to be Kihei Clark? What about McNeely, Vanderplas? You can talk about Shedrick, Frank, every single person you can make a case for why they're going to be dominant, and they just figure out ways to win. Offensively, if they are sound and they give a defensive performance like they did last night, it is certainly going to be in the Cavs' favor. Can they stop PJ Hall? Can they limit Hunter Tyson? They're going to have to figure out Chase Hunter and Brevin Galloway, but I certainly put that with Kihei Clark and have full confidence that he can do it. In this matchup, I'm going to give it to Virginia. I just feel like they got things rolling. A lot of conversation last night was around the fact that Tony Bennett sort of has these ACC or even college basketball coaches out of the conversation, right? You've got Boeheim retiring. You got Mike Bray going on his way away from Notre Dame. You have North Carolina's Roy Williams who retired. You had Coach K give up the thing. Is Coach Bennett the new king of the ACC? We can make an argument. He's the only one right now that I feel like job he don't even have to think about besides Larinaga, and that's just because of who he is. I love Coach Larinaga. Think he should have been Coach of the Year. But is there another king of the castle right now when it comes to basketball, college basketball for the ACC? Would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave it in the comments if you have a choice and preference. As we move through the rest of the ACC tournament, we got really 3 games left. Make sure that you dial in at Locked On ACC. Follow us wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure we roll from there. As you continue to get coverage throughout the spring, summer NCAA Tournament Selection Sunday, Locked On College Basketball will be in full swing for you. So you can check out who may or may not make this tournament for our ACC teams. We talked earlier about North Carolina. Doesn't look good for them. Sucks to say, but you got to get it done during the regular season. That's why it matters. You got to beat your conference opponents, and sometimes handily at that. Frustrating as they were the number 1 ranked program, but you live to see another day. Please don't take the NIT. I beg of you. I don't want to see any more of this basketball. But if you want to get ready for Selection Show Sunday, please make sure you hit up Locked On College Basketballs. We'll have a live show getting all the things prepped and ready for you as we prepare for what should be a really fun March Madness and ultimately a good NCAA Tournament and Championship Series, as well as the women. Can't forget about the ladies. A lot of good teams from the ACC side that are getting ready for their postseason play. So we'll have all that coverage for you. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, make sure you check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because we need those 1,000 subs to make us feel good about ourselves. We love you. Have a great and safe weekend. Happy Friday.